Hi, hello, I'm Stella if you're new here, and today I wanted to film the Minerva application Q&A I promised. So this is the part 3 of my Minerva application videos. Before I start, as usual, I just want to say that I'm not a Minerva representative. I should be going as a first year in almost exactly a month. So this is just my perspective and I'm just trying to help you guys out, trying to answer your questions as well as possible. Alright, so let's get right in. So the first question is one I got a lot. You guys keep asking this question and it is about scholarships and financial aid. So many of you guys asked this that I can't really pinpoint who asked it first, but the gist of it is that basically Minerva is need blind, meaning that you apply for your financial package separately from your application. So when you do apply, you can opt into the financial aid application. And in doing so, you're gonna have to fill out the kind of typical US financial requirements, I guess, for the financial aid packages. And you just fill that out. You need your guardian, whether it's your parents or parent, to fill those documents out, and then they will do the calculations. Regardless of whether you are admitted based on high grades or based on good performance in the challenges, it doesn't matter. Your financial aid is completely separate. It's need blind, meaning that it's based on what you need, not merit. So a question I get a lot is also how much money can they give you? And they can give you full scholarships if that's what you need. If they assess that your family needs that much money, they will give you that. Minerva is actually the least expensive, although still very expensive, one of the least expensive US universities. And that's because there are no facilities, or at least very, very few. And so you're not paying for the cafeteria, you're not paying for a gym, you're not paying for the campus. You're really only paying for residency, you're paying for the actual tuitions, like your classes and everything, and those extra fees, and then the rest is really up to you. The yearly tuition is about 28,000, I believe, and that's in US dollars. So Minerva estimates that in 1 year you would need about $5,000 to pay for food and like your typical everyday expenses. So within that price, the flights are not included, and that's going to really vary on where you're coming from. So if your family is really in need for scholarship, you could in theory get the entire full scholarship, but you would still have to pay for those flights. For those who don't know, most US universities prices range between like 70,000 a year to like 90,000 a year. It can be really, really pricey. And so while it is a very, very expensive school to attend, at the same time, if you're coming from the US, it's quite a bit lower. And they're also quite generous when it comes to financial aid packages. They're definitely, relative to other schools, pretty generous. They don't want finances to deter you from applying. They don't want it to deter you from actually attending, and so they do their best to try and get a wide variety of people from different economical backgrounds. The financial aid is also sort of split into different categories. You can get a bursary and you don't need to pay it back. You can also get a loan. I would do research if you do get a loan, whether it's more beneficial to take Minerva's loan or to take your bank loan from your own country. And then the other thing is work study. If you qualify for work study, it is about $5,000 a year, which is supposed to cover your additional expenses, so the flights and the food and all of that. I know school and university is expensive, and I hate that it is. I wish everyone could just attend school for free. But unfortunately, just like any other school, you do have to pay a price. So I hope that answers your guys' questions. A lot of the info is going to be on the website. That's the most trusted information. If you need to contact anybody, there are a lot of email addresses available, so you can contact Minerva. I know they're very, very busy at the minute, but it's definitely helpful to reach out and clarify any info that you can't find on the website. So the next question I got was from Gamiao Lethis Gwyneth B. I'm sorry if I said that super wrong. But she asked, how long on average do you think the application requirements get? So I'm assuming you're kind of asking how long it takes to fill out the application, and I think that's very personal, because I have heard of people who have really done it very last minute and kind of gotten it all done very, very quickly. It's not a really long application, to be honest. If you haven't watched my other videos, I will leave a link up here to the first part, which is what is Minerva, but also the description of the application process. And then I also have the second part, which is about how to get into Minerva. The written application, you could probably do it in a day. I started it very early. I probably took 2 or 3 months to actually finalize my application. That's just me. I'm definitely a perfectionist, and I wanted it to be like as as perfect as possible, you definitely don't need to do that. You can probably do it pretty quickly. It's not a very long application, and then the challenges part would only take you 2 hours if you sat down and did it in a row, so it really doesn't take long at all. Okay, so the next question I got was from Alina, and she asked, does being an IB student matter? Are the marks important or only experience and skills? I don't think being an IB student matters. I think as long as you're succeeding and doing well in the academic program you're a part of, then you're probably okay. I will say a lot of the admitted Minerva students are going to be IB students, but that's mostly because of the lifestyle. Oftentimes the people that want to attend Minerva have maybe already lived abroad or in some sort of international program, which is what incited them to want to apply to Minerva. For those who don't know, the IB is the International Baccalaureate. It's just an international curriculum. I think it just makes sense that a lot of the students interested are already studying in that international setting or in a way that would advantage them in a global manner. But the point is, you don't need the IB. You just need to be good in school. Okay, so the next question she asked is, are you aware of any biases towards certain nationalities or personal traits? For example, I know that Ukrainians were one of the biggest nationality groups that got in last year. Does that lower my chances as a Ukrainian now? No, not at all. Not even slightly. What Minerva says on their website and what they preach a lot is the fact that they're not looking at where you're coming from. They're not looking to fill any quotas. They don't want a certain number of people from a certain nationality. What they want is the people themselves. They want people that are going to not only grow and benefit from attending Minerva, but are going to benefit Minerva in the end. It's just a possibility that in Ukraine, there are more people interested and therefore there are more people being admitted. I have a really good Ukrainian friend that told me that there's a program in Ukraine that is slightly similar to Minerva. I can't remember the name of it, but my guess is that because people are already interested in that in Ukraine, and there are a lot of people that are exposed to this kind of unconventional learning, that there would be more people applying. It doesn't lower your chances in the slightest. Just because another person from your school gets in doesn't mean you can't, and that's what's really special about Minerva, is that they're not looking for a diverse group of people. Naturally, diversity comes from their application process. Actually, that'll lead me on to another question I got from someone called Jerry, which is, what is unique about the application process in comparison to others, and are the differences good or bad? I would say the differences are great, and that's what really made me interested in Minerva. Because they're not focused on getting someone to represent all the different schools, all the different nationalities, they're really looking at individual people. I think it takes away from the competition. So yes, it's a very selective school, but it's not very competitive, because you're really only competing against yourself. If you reach the bar and the point at which they think, yes, you are a good candidate, they're gonna take you. There's no cap on the amount of students they admit every year. There is no cap on the amount of students they admit from any nationality or from any school. There could have been 5 people from my previous school admitted, and there could have just been me. The other very unique thing is that you don't need to take the SATs or any standardized test like TOEFL. None of that is required because of the way that they've built the challenges. You really only have to do that. That makes it incredible because it's way more accessible to anybody anywhere in the world. And on top of that, the application is free, so you're not paying to go take these standardized tests. All you have to do is sit down at your computer for a couple hours and finish them, and that's it. So the next question I got is from Avelina, and she asked, how important are the grades for Minerva? What are the requirements? Is SAT or ACT compulsory? And as I just mentioned, the SATs or TOEFL are not only not compulsory, but also they don't even want it. They don't want to see it. They don't want you to attach it to the application. So because of the way that they've built the application, the challenges replace any standardized test. It's almost like Minerva's own standardized test, I guess. And that is all you need. The application is completely free. The tests don't take very long, and so I definitely encourage you to just give it a shot. And then the other question is, how important are the grades? And it's hard to tell. There's nowhere on the website that says that there's a requirement. There's no strict rule as to how much you need to be getting to apply even. You have to be, I think, committed to school and like school, because the actual courses when you get to Minerva are quite heavy. So you need to understand that it is still school, you're not just traveling. It's definitely an intense and a rigorous program, but there's no specific requirement. So the next question I got is from Galina, and they asked, how important were extracurriculars in the application? Do you think someone can still get in if they don't have extracurriculars but they have outstanding grades? And what I'll say about this is that there is no section in which you have to mention your extracurriculars. Of course, you can mention your extracurriculars in your accomplishments, but you don't need to. I definitely think a lot of outside of school activities will lead to accomplishments that you can mention. I think only 1, maybe 2 of my accomplishments were related to any extracurricular. you don't need them, but they can be helpful. So the next question I got is from Raluca, and they ask, what do they appreciate most in a student? I know it's a holistic process. They want to know the person rather than their grades, but still, what are the qualities they're looking for in the applicants? That's a really hard question to answer because, as I've mentioned before, there is no one ideal profile for a candidate. There's no one perfect person. I feel like everybody is going to be different, and that's what makes it so special, because everybody is different and adds something new to the mix. I'll say they might not be looking for certain traits, but there are probably traits which are very common among the admitted applicants. I'd say one of those is being open-minded. If someone is demonstrating that they are very open-minded to the world and to people and to various opinions, they're probably more likely to be the kind of person that is fit for Minerva. I'd also say someone who's very adaptable and likes to change environments, someone who loves traveling but in a way that is very enriching and that leads to growth is probably someone that is more likely to be fit for Minerva. I think the people admitted have to be academically strong or very, very willing and interested to learn. I think they look for passionate people, and I don't think they look for people that are necessarily like-minded, but people that are very opinionated and passionate about what they do. I think being authentic is honestly super important, because if you just tried to fill your application with what you think Minerva wants to see, they're gonna see right through you, and I don't think it's gonna advantage you at all. So honestly, pick out the things that you know maybe match Minerva, but don't stick with just those. Expand from that and show them that you are different and important in your own way, and you deserve a spot there, because you're gonna also benefit them in the end. Okay, so another question I got is from Gori. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. And they're wondering whether the accomplishments hold more weight than the challenges, or whether it's similar. And they're worried because they feel like they don't have impressive enough accomplishments. I would love to give you an answer to this question, but I really don't know. I don't know how they calculate who is fit for Minerva. I wouldn't worry too much if you feel like your accomplishments aren't super impressive. As I mentioned in the previous video, which I highly recommend you check that out if you're planning on applying, you can make anything sound very impressive. So I think if you feel like you haven't done anything super impressive, pick the things that you genuinely are proud of and make them sound impressive. Because if you are very, very proud of them, it will show. I would say try your best on both of them, and that's all you can do. Okay, so the next question I got is, does Minerva need recommendation letters? And if you check out, again, my last video, I will explain that within each accomplishment that you mention, there is a section in which you can add a reference contact, but also as evidence, you can attach a reference letter. In theory, for every accomplishment, you could have a reference letter and a reference contact that is different. So you could have 12. The second question is, does Minerva ask for any writing requirements, like the personal statement? It's like the third time I'm saying this. Check out my last video. And in the part 1, I explained how the application works. But instead of the personal statement, they ask for accomplishments. I was asked by Evelina again if there's an itinerary given by Minerva. And yes, you have to follow the countries based on the way that they've set them up, kind of. You're supposed to, if you have a valid reason. In theory, you could switch, but you really need to go to reason. And I would only worry about that when you actually get there, but the objective is to always follow your class. Okay, so the next few are a little bit more personal. Marina asked, what subjects am I studying at Minerva? And I don't know. Okay, so the way that Minerva works is that the first year there are 4 cornerstone courses, and you don't get to pick what they are. It's a foundation year, and the 4 classes are formal analysis, multimodal communications, empirical analysis, and complex systems. And so in your second year, or leading up to your second year, you would then pick your major, or like your bracket of major. Those ones are arts and humanities, computational sciences, natural sciences, social sciences, and business. Within those, in your third year, you would then pick like the subcategory of that section and specify, and then you can take either a major minor, or a double major. Again, this is the kind of thing that you can find all the information on the website, so I definitely highly recommend that you look at that. Another question I got is from Parsa, and he asks if being accepted to a UWC should count as an achievement, or is that too cliche? So for those who don't know, I attended the United World College of Costa Rica, which is an international boarding school. And so this is more so directed at UWC students, which I know a lot of you watching are. This is funny because I considered this question too when I was applying, because from the UWC students that I knew that were also admitted, a lot of them had put UWC as an accomplishment. And I'm gonna say, yeah, go for it. It's hard to get into GWC. If you got in, if you're proud of it, if you worked really hard, then absolutely put it in. Of course you need proof that it was hard, so if you come from a country where like, you're one of like 10 applicants and there's like 5 spots, then it's maybe not the best. But if you're coming from a place where it actually is a very selective process and you worked really hard, then you can absolutely put that as an accomplishment. There's really no such thing as cliche because there is no marker of whether an accomplishment is cliche, or at least I don't think there would be. So another question I got is actually in my DMs on Instagram, and it is from Davi, and I thought I would include it in here because I think some of you have asked similar questions in the past, and it is, why did I choose Minerva for my career? Or what do I want to do and how does Minerva help me get there? And quite honestly, I have no idea what I want to do for my career. I have genuinely no clue at all. I definitely used to be the kind of person that had a very clear vision of what my life would look like, but I don't know. And I think that's why I like the liberal arts education, because it means that I don't have to be picking what I want to study in my first year, and I can pick based on what I end up being interested in. I have more time, I guess, so I think that's really beneficial for me because I don't really feel like I can make a decision at this point in my life. So I didn't pick Minerva based on what I want to do in the future. I trust that if I do things that I love, I will end up finding myself in a place that I am happy. Okay, so that's it for today's video. I hope that I helped you. If I did, please leave a thumbs up and leave me a comment if you're planning to apply to Minerva. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It would mean the world to me. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.